Hello, everyone, and thank you for attending today's webinar, Customize Your Machine and Operator Interface to Work in Harmony. Before we begin, we wanted to cover a few housekeeping items. At the bottom of your audience console are multiple application widgets you can use. If you have any questions during the webcast, you can click on the Q&A widget at the bottom and submit your question. We will try to answer these during the webcast, but if a fuller answer is needed, or if we run out of time, it will be answered later via email. We do capture all questions. You can expand your slide area by clicking on the maximize icon on the top right or by dragging the bottom right corner. An on-demand version of the webcast will be available approximately 1 day after the webcast and can be accessed using the same audience link that was sent to you earlier. If you have any ON24 technical difficulty, please click on the Help widget that is showcased with the question mark in yellow and covers common technical issues. If you are running into slide refresh issues, you can try refreshing your browser session or closing out and logging back into the webcast. Also note, Chrome is the preferred browser. Volume is controlled by your computer speaker. All right, Ed, I will now turn it over to you.
Thank you. My name is Ed Rogan. I am a Senior Offer Manager with Schneider Electric, and today I'm going to talk about how you can customize your machine and operator interface to work in harmony. So we at Schneider feel that the best push button is the one you design. Today, the ability to customize your work lets you stand out in a highly competitive world. In the past, customizing the color of a push button or even adding pictures to these devices was unheard of. Today, in a few minutes, you can design your own push button, pilot light, selector switch, legends, or legend panels to say or show anything. As you can see here, you can pick from almost an unlimited amount of colors. You can insert images, even pictures of yourself. We offer custom control stations with colors, with a variety of fonts and font sizes. We also offer customized legend panels in the sizes from 100 by 100 millimeters up to 400 by 500 millimeters. I will demonstrate how easy it is to customize these legend panels later in this presentation. So let's talk about the benefits of customizing your panel. Better aesthetics. Using the online tools, you can create your own design. Don't like the way it turned out? Yeah, you can always go back to the tool and make changes quickly and easily. You design the way it looks. You can easily add your company logo or operator instructions or even certification information. You are only limited by your creativity. Better ergonomics. As you design a legend panel or customizing push buttons or control stations, you can place an emphasis on the safety aspect of your design by using cognitive ergonomics. You can design something to provide a larger visual area for an e-stop, as an example, or maybe more detailed descriptions for your push buttons or pilot lights or selector switch or other devices. You can design your panel for better operator efficiency. Installation time savings. As you will see, when you design your legend panels, the legend panels act as your panel layout for hole punching and drilling. No matter how many panels you have, the legend panel acts as your template for your component layout. This will save you time in panel assembly and ultimately save you money. Online customization. This tool is available online. No special apps required. You can create a design and go back to tweak the design as often as you want. This gives you the flexibility in your design that you need in an ever-changing competitive landscape. Minimum order required. No, there is no minimum quantities to use the tool, and if you place an order, there is only a minimum order of one, and there is no setup fee. This allows you to customize a single panel or maybe a sample panel for your customer's approval, and you can quickly make any changes that may be required for the next stage of your project. So I would like to go through a few examples before I show you how easy it is. Here is an example of a legend panel that was created for one of our manufacturing facilities. On the left is the panel before. You will notice some legend plates are not aligned, and they are all one color. On the right is the final version. We color-coded the legends based upon machine functionality. We also increased the font sizes so they are easier to read, and it does have a cleaner, more aesthetically pleasing look. Here's another before and after example. On the left, you will see push buttons close together, and it's hard to read the legend plates at a slight distance. On the right, you can see the push buttons are spaced out far enough so that the increased font size or descriptions are more readable. Not only does this look, does the right side look better, but the panel is more efficiently laid out for the machine operator. In this example, the customer designed a panel to be used with various components. When you design a legend panel, you can preview and approximate what it will look like. This is called the layout view. When you receive, what you will receive is called the drilling view. The drilling view is used to lay out your panel where the holes or cutting needs to be done in order to install your components. You will see more of the details in the later part of the presentation. Here we are showing custom control station. This shows where custom colors can be applied, what legends are available, and an example of various font sizes available. Now I want to briefly go through the steps used in creating a custom push button and to show how easy it is to do. First, we would go to our website. Since this is an online tool, you go to the website, make sure it's a global website. And in our case, we can do an XB4 or an XB5, which would be a metal or a plastic push button. Here you would go through the product selector, and the product selector will give you the options of making, you pick your component that you want to use and customize that. In this case, what we have here is we've gone through all the characteristics that we need. And here we said customize, and then when we do that, in the top right-hand corner, you will see in step 6 where it says customize. Here you can do various customizations. So on a push buttons, their tools are on the right-hand side. So you can pick, you can choose the color of your push button. You can choose whether you have 1 or 2 lines of text. You can choose whether you want a picture put on there. So you have quite a variety of that. Once you are done with your creating your customized part, you would hit step 8. And step 8 would be customize, or complete, sorry. Once you hit complete, a little pop-up window would come up. You put in your name, your email address, and you hit OK. And then once you do that, you'll get an email. Within a few minutes after you hit OK, you'll get an email. And the customer email will look similar to what you see on the left-hand side. There are 3 part numbers there. All 3 part numbers are used at the factory in order to produce your customized product. The customization ID is unique to your custom product. So, and it's not just a one-time use. You can use it over and over and over again. So if you create it today and 6 months from now you need it, you can order that part number. So let's go through and talk about building a custom legend panel. In the tool, the layout is in millimeters. So it's a good idea to have a predetermined layout. Make sure that if you have images that you want to include, they are of sufficient resolution for the size that you want them to be on the legend panel. A very low resolution image, you blow it up for a large panel, legend panel, and it might be more pixelated. So you have to maybe play around with that a little bit. And lastly, you can experiment on colors, but if you already have the colors picked out, this will make the designing process go much faster. And as you can see, you have over 16.5 million colors to pick from. So let's talk about, I've got a video that I have because of the time constraints, but I'm going to show you in this next video how we can create this from a blank unit to this legend panel that we have here.
Now to start, we need to open up a browser, se.com, XP4, XP5. In order to do a legend panel, we're going to click XP4, and in order to do the legend panel and customization, we need a product selector. So we pick on the product selector. Now when you're creating these legend panels, it's nice to already have an idea of what you're trying to do. So for example, this is all in millimeters, so you'd like to know a little bit about the dimensioning of where you're going to be placing things, the type of colors that you are looking for, that you want to place on there. If you have any logos, you should have the logo files available. And that will help speed the design. In this case, we are picking 200 by 100, unmarked. That's it. Just to click those two, and I see customize. So a standard part that I'm going to be customizing is a 200 by 100 millimeter unmarked black legend panel. So I'm going to customize that. So I'm not going to use a template, but although I could, I'm just going to use a blank to start from scratch. All right, I'm going to use full screen, and I'm going to make the image as large as I can. That's my canvas. All right, so let's start with, we know it's 200 by 100. We also know that we wanted it black. All right, and we wanted it rounded edges. 10 millimeters is the default. We'll leave it as that. Next thing we want to do is make the cross hatches that we showed in the previous one. So in this case, I'm going to take a rectangle. I'm going to drag it over here. As I mentioned, I know my dimensions, so I will just be typing them in. Object position, I'm going to make this 50, and I'm going to make this 50. And the size I want is 85 millimeters by 85 millimeters. Now, it was hatched, which means lines, in this case it's going to be gray. So I have two lines. I have a gray line and the background color. But I can make that background color something different. I can make it red, I can make it blue, I can make it black, green, white, gray, that would be solid color, yellow, or I can pick and choose which color I want. In this case, I don't want a color. I just want just a gray hatching. All right? So also, you can change the thickness of these lines. So for example, you can see they're bigger. Or I can change the angle of the lines. All right, so we're going to leave what there was at the default. So I wanted a e-stop on here. So in this case, I'm going to drag the e-stop. I know that that should be in the center of this, which would be 50 by 50. I want a 22 millimeter. I want the cap size is 40. The first line up on top says emergency. The second label down at the bottom says stop. Now you notice over here they have show icons. In this case, you can notice that right in these, on left and right, there's an icon. So we're going to leave the icon, and we're going to leave the legend size 60. It could be larger, but we think it's better this size. All right, so now on to the green start push button. So here we got the push button here. I'm just going to roughly put it in where it is, where it should be. and the X position should be 123, and the Y position should be 44. Okay, and we only want a simple push button. It's non-illuminated. It's 22 millimeter. Oh, and by the way, this one was green. All right. So now, before we start putting in, we want 2 lines. That's right. Before we start putting in any text, I want to make sure the color is correct. If you recall, it was gray. Now, the color that's this gray here, I want the same color. Well, I know that that is 128. This is where I'm going to use RGB colors. 128 by 128 by 128. That's the same color as this gray here. All right, so if you recall, the first label was actually an icon, and that icon happens to be that. It looks very tiny there. All right, so first of all, it should be white, and I know that the font should be 24. Now, you see I can go higher. If I pick 36, I immediately get this change your text or decrease the size. All right, so I can't go above 24. 24 is the largest. All right. Second line is actually going to be text, and the second line is this part right here, right below it. And I want that to say start. I do want it in white, and I do want it in 16 font size. So if you recall, so I'm going to click away. This is very square. I think I would like it a little bit rounded. So I come back here, I round it, and in order to get the radius I'm looking for, it should be 5. I can look now, and I go a little bit tight on the sides and the bottom, so I'm going to increase that size a little bit. This is the background margin. The width should be, we'll make it say 32, and the height 32. Looks a little bit better here. All right. So the next thing I have to do is put a stop button. So I will put in the stop button here, and I want it at the same height as what's here, same line. So in that case, that would be 168 and 44. Again, it's the same button, but this time I want it red. I want 2 lines. And let's make this gray again to make it easier to see. Again, 128, 128, 128. That's a gray. First line, which is up here, is again another icon. And that icon is just a circle. It's white and 24. The next one is text, and that should be stop. Again, white, and this time 16. Again, the size looks different. I want it a little bit wider on the sides and the bottom, and I want rounded edges. So I click back on here, come back down. I want rounded edge. I want a 5 for my radius. And the margin I want to increase just slightly to make it 32 on the sides and 32 on the height. So now when I look at it, it looks very similar. Now the only thing left to do is to put in the Schneider logo here. So from here, I take my image from the left-hand side, and I know what the size should be. So the height should be 70. The width should be 70, and the height should be 20. And the XY 146 and 82. Okay. So now I click on this button here, and it actually allows me to pick a file from on my computer. It takes a second, and there you have it. That is what the image was before we started here. That's what it looked like. So this is the customized product. It is a finished product, but not 100% saved yet. So keep in mind, you've got the legend panel number here, you've got an internal reference number here, and you've got a customization ID number here. These three numbers you'll get in an email once you hit complete. But before we do that, let's take a final look at the image preview. So it takes a second. It creates an image preview. In a second, we'll see it down here. All right, so open it up, and there you can see it. Looks really good. All right. The next thing I want to know is, let's take a look at the technical drawing. Now, one of the nice features about these customized panels is the fact that they give you layout of where to punch the holes or where to drill or where to cut. So in this case, this is an outline. Once you apply this legend panel to your enclosure, this actually gives you the center line for your 22 millimeter hole for your emergency stop, your 22 millimeter hole for your start and stop buttons. So it gives you the center lines for all that. So it makes it very simple to lay it out. You've already laid it out, and all you got to do is put this legend panel on your enclosure. So we're good with that. Here, once we have configured and we complete with the configuration, we type in a name, an email address, I'm not a robot. I hit OK. And in a few minutes, you can see an email that comes in, and notice it said your configuration is complete. So now you're done. Now, just to give you an idea what the emails will look like. So you'll get an email that looks like this. It gives you an image of what you created, gives you 3 part numbers, and also gives you a product data sheet link. If you recall, when we first started, I showed you what the black legend panel looked like. So here's, if I click on that, this is the initial what it looks like. Okay, so that part number up here that you see is actually this number right here. Okay, this number is what you will be ordering from your distributor. And this is the customization ID that you can use. At any point in time you want to order more of these, this is your custom ID for this panel. So now I'm going to copy this. I'm going to go back into here, and I'm going to enter it up here. So if I didn't know what it said, or I didn't know what that panel looked like, I got that number. Let's see, what is it? And there it is. Now, I may come around and say, you know, I want to change something on here. I want to change the colors or whatever. So I can't make a change to this because that's a unique identification number. So I would have to duplicate it. It says I've been duplicated. And now I can go in there and make any changes I want. I can click on here. I can make it a yellow push button or whatever. All these, this number will be the same. The internal reference number will be the same. The customization ID number will be different. And that's the only thing that's going to be changed with this. And then you can hit complete again. Okay.
sorry. As you can see, in less than 15 minutes, I've created a totally customized Legend panel. On the right side, you will see is actually what you will receive. It has the 3 center points for where the 3 22-millimeter holes are supposed to go, where you can drill them. And the image on the left gives you a preview of what your Legend panel will look like when you insert the selected push buttons. Here is a list of resources, YouTube videos where you can actually go to see more about how to customize. Actually, there is one of these that actually is for what a customer did to install, and they did their own customization. Okay, so hopefully you have seen that you have the ability to customize your machine and operator interface to work in Harmony. Now I'd like to open it up for any questions.
All right, Ed, let's go with your first one here. Do you save users' names and email addresses?
That's a good question. If you noticed in the early part of when we started laying this out, we went to the global website. It's a global database so that it's used by everybody globally. And we do not keep email addresses. We do not keep people's names. All we do is that is used in order to send that email that you saw in the video. And once that's been sent, we don't keep anything other than that customization ID number. And actually, unless you have that number, we won't know what is actually in there. So we don't keep access to any of that information.
All right. Yeah. Besides duplicate, can you perform copy paste?
So that's a good question. When you want to do an insert, I think I understand the question. There are 3 file types. If you do a copy, if you save it to a JPEG, a bitmap, or a PNG file, you could insert one of those onto your Legend panel. But it's not a copy paste type of thing. So if you want to, they have on your computers, a lot of times you can snip things. If you do, you can save those files or save those images as one of those 3 files. You should be okay.
All right, and probably have time for one more. So what file types can be used for images?
Yeah, that's what I was just mentioning. So you can use JPEG, bitmap, or PNG. And those type of files, maximum size of about 4 meg max. And because of the resolution, typically it's a minimum of about 50K for resolution purposes. Again, it really depends on the size of your panel. So we've actually had people where they would do a complete image independently and actually insert the image, either to JPEG or one of those files, JPEG, bitmap, or a PNG file, and actually use that rather than use the layout tools. So it really is that flexible where if you could even do it separately and insert the image as your whole layout.
All right.
Okay.
And you do have a few more questions here, Ed, but we are out of time.
Okay.
We can't get all these questions answered. We'll send them over to you via email. So if you'd like to wrap it up.
Okay. Okay. Well, thank you for your time, and hopefully we can get these questions back to you pretty quickly.
All right. Thanks, guys.
Thank you.